All right, we are live. What's going on, fellow traders? Let me get this tweeted out. I don't know what just happened to my tweety thing. Hold on 1 second. Where'd it go? There it is. Okay. Tweet. Tweet, tweet. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good, good, good. Hold on 1 second. Let me just check, make sure everything's coming through. Okay, good. Jay, what's going on? Hello, hello. All right, so here we are. Wow, another day today. Goodness gracious, down 69 points. Oh my goodness. Market just, whew, yeah, having some fun, having some fun. So let's take a look at where we're at. Overall with the market. So we've got SPX here. Okay, this is the December, crash bottom, I suppose, or the final put this month, and then we come right off it to the downside, right? Not quite that simple, right? But in general, you can see what's happening. So trend line from the lows of December through January, right? We're basically intersecting and crossing through that right now. So we'll see if that gets any follow through to the downside. Let's take a look and see how that looks on the weekly chart. So the weekly chart, had a gap down from the on Monday, right? We got down pretty significantly with the China news and everything, and so that came down, basically tagged the that upward trend line, and then we're a little bit below it right now on the weekly, but still below is the 50 moving average, which is this red line right here, and of course we have the Ichimoku cloud, and so another possible support zone. So we'll see if there is further downside, if we test those levels. So. Right now, the daily chart is off the all-time highs. Now, we talked about this. Newsletter subscribers, Positive Trends newsletter subscribers, were keyed into kind of this key turning point here of the upper Bollinger Band, where it sort of flattened it out, started coming down, right? It tagged the top of it, and then kind of came off it, right? Then I put in this, funky little reversal pattern, but never got any follow through, and eventually kept breaking the lows. Inside bar broke to the downside, and then today was just the coup d'etat, I suppose, on this hammer bar that a lot of folks got long in after the epic reversal, right? The big reversal forms a hammer, right? So if we start, come down, then come back up, right? That's going to be a hammer bar on your larger time frame, right? And so, a lot of people got long on this over the weekend and then woke up this morning and was like, oh, not so good, right? So big gap down and then a push to the downside, right? Today's range was 38 points, right? So half of the range was a gap down. The other half, a little more than half was the push to the downside. So pretty interesting stuff. So we'll see how we do with this cloud right here. Futures right now are actually pointing pretty bullishly. So we'll see if that gets any follow through tomorrow. In fact, I'm going to put an alert here on the SPX itself because I think that's an important level to see if it breaks tomorrow. So that will be cloud break daily. So I'm going to put an alert right there. Good stuff. So let's moving right along. Let's take a look at the intraday price action. I really wanted to trade this, and you still could have traded off the 60-minute time frame, but we had an inside 60 anchor yesterday on the SPX, which are fun to trade. Right, we had one here. Kind of tagged it and went down. Another one here, gap and go or plop and drop. On the downside. So pretty interesting stuff. So gave a nice push down. Even gave you a momentum shooting star type pattern here, and then kind of moved to the downside. So from there it was 28.14 all the way to 2800. I'm not the easiest trading day, right? Because it was more of like a gap and chop, right? So it was. You can see we kind of just floated around here at the bottom. So let's take a look at the 5-minute time frame and how the price action was today. I've got today's charts levels pulled up. Positive Trends newsletter subscribers get access to a private Twitter feed. In the private Twitter feed, I tweet out all these levels. I also offer I also have available to them this public domain thing script that they can automatically put these levels in the next day. But the idea is. Here these levels are always significant for floor traders, and so we have a couple different levels. So right here we gapped basically into the S1 level on the daily, and then the weekly gap fill, which was a pretty significant level, failed to hold, and then we kind of pushed down all the way to the S2. The S2 is the big level today that got support and resistance a couple times. So here it felt, came as support, retested this level, got a little choppy in there, and there was this type of move down was really nasty. This move down, okay, no problem, right? The IV was still really high because the implied volatility was still really high because of the gap down. Right, so anytime you move down, that implied volatility goes up, right? And so, give me 1 second while the Thinkorswim decides to come back to life here. Oh, okay, that makes sense. All right, so anyway, but this move down was really super duper choppy, right? Big red bar, big green bar, big red bar, big green bar, big red bar, big green bar. I mean, just really, really tough to trade with options today. So was looking, really today I would have looked to go long if we tagged here, right, on the S2 level. We didn't quite get there, right? But you can see here there's this Fibonacci spiral which showed, hey, there might be a reversal coming or a change coming. Anyway, so here's your downward trend line from the day, from the open, the opening level here to its, from the low. Here's your new trend line, right? We broke through that here. I actually tweeted out Intraday. I said, this is a key level, and then boom, launched to the upside, right? And then it got a little consolidation, a little bit of a bull flag right here, and then came to the upside. You can see this green channel. We just kind of worked our way up there, and then another shot back down. So, the price action wasn't horrible, but it was bad enough. It was this choppiness, like where it had quick moves up, quick moves down, where it was the spreads and the bids and the asks were going everywhere. It made it really, really tough to get a position today in it. So good one to observe today and just kind of stay sidelines, because really at this point we never know what kind of tweet is going to come out where the markets are going to go crazy, right? So anyway, so here's the SPX, right? We've been looking at this one long term for a while, just tracking to see how the market's going. So we have our 2018 channel, right? That's kind of continuing into 2019, and so we also have this long range pitchfork, right? This macro pitchfork right here. That's this blue line, or these blue lines, right? So those give us good ideas for where we could get pivot points and reversals, and so we're getting really, really close. So we had this midpoint line here off of it, where we got to the resistance zone, right, from the prior all-time highs, and we came off of that finally nice pivot and then a push to the downside. Not quite easy because we had the big green day, right, last week on Friday, but we pushed and continued down. So here we are, right at the back at the pitchfork level. So we will see how it handles this 2800, 2795, right, depending on how we open in the morning, and we might see a reversal off of that, and then maybe chop to the side or work its way through this reaction line here. So we shall see on that. So that's the overall picture of the market. So at this point, for tonight's continued discussion on price action, I want to talk about a new chart pattern or a different chart pattern. There's a couple different scenarios with it called broadening formations, right? So there's a couple. We're going to talk about three different ones. So the first one is a broadening formation. A lot of it's called like a megaphone, and basically all it is just when price makes higher highs and lower lows while it's moving in a sideways direction, right? So let's say we have here and then here. So you can see it looks like a megaphone, right? So here's the megaphone, like you'd shout in there, and then it goes out, right? So the idea is you see price go up, right, down, up, right, down, right, up. And so the idea is you want to see at least three pivots coming into this. So what does it tell you? Well, it tells you that that when you're in this, when you can, if you can catch this, then you can possibly get a reversal in it too to see more to the downside. But at the same time, it has about a 50% probability of breaking out to the upside or back to the downside when it moves down. So what I would rather do in these situations is look for a pivot at these levels and then work to trade that to the downside. Say that's your new trend down in those areas. So, but we can kind of take a look and see, for the most part, you can see them usually in smaller time frames, especially if you, I'm trying to see if I can see one right here on the SPX. You can kind of see one right here. So it actually would be longer, but hold on one second. A little bit tricky here. Easier on the shorter term time frames. Let me zoom in a little bit and see if we can see one that worked here. Yeah, I mean you can. This is kind of like a move to the upside. Let's look at this. 1 2 1 2. Tough. We're not really seeing it here on the. Okay, so this could break to the upside, right? And then also you could see the reversal way. Let me see if I can just kind of zoom into a smaller time frame and see. It's kind of starting to form one this way. So actually, let's do that here. Let me zoom in here. So here you can see we have, about 1, 2, 3 up in this channel. But if we continue here, let's go there, then here, right, we kind of see 1, 2, there, right? So it's pretty big, related to it. I mean, you'd have to get a nice big move up here. But you can see how that kind of works to the upside. So it kind of just gives you showing that price, moving up and down in a horizontal direction. So, little easier to find on the shorter term time frames. There's a couple other ones that I want to talk about. So the next is so a right angled broadening and ascending formation, right? This is actually a reversal pattern. So basically, what you would look for is, well, let me start with the reverse of that. So a right angled broadening and descending formation. So here is a perfect example. So this on the SPX daily, right? Here's your right angle right here. So you draw a straight line here where that resistance was, right? And then you draw here. Here's your broadening to the downside. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then once it gets to the top of this broadening formation, right? It's a long trigger, right? So here's your breakout zone right here, and then once it gets above that, you had a nice move to the upside. So that was 28.64 all the way to 29.54. So you can see here, there's your broadening formation. The other one is the same except it's inverted. So we can actually kind of see it here. If I extend this to the, let me activate this. I'm just going to move this forward here. Okay. So there's your. I'm going to remove that. There, and then here's your broadening formation up. Okay, so this is actually bearish, right? So so the idea is if, and it kind of corresponds with what we've been seeing with our pitchfork and everything like that. So you have your 1, 2, 3, 4, your multiple pivots. So if we don't pivot here and move to the upside, if we do, we could potentially see the top of this broadening formation. But if it breaks down below it through this pitchfork line, we could see further downside, right? So that's kind of the idea with that. And then the last version of it, and we already looked at this, is an ascending broadening wedge and a descending broadening wedge. And so the ascending, you can almost kind of look at it here too. We activate drawing and just bring this down. Ah! Can I make that go back? No. Hold on one second. Here, if we actually bring this down here, activate, and then move this here, and up. Okay, so this is an ascending broadening formation. So once again, this is a bearish indicator. So if it breaks below these levels, right, we might see further downside. And then the same goes the opposite way. So obviously you could see here, and this is a little extreme, but if you started up here, right, you have this formation here, this formation here. So you have a descending broadening formation, right? And once it breaks out through here, you have upside movement. So definitely something to look at, right? As we know from Elliott wave, price likes to move in waves. And so just as price likes to move in waves, we can track those waves by drawing trend lines on the top of the wave pivot points. And so just by doing that, you have the potential of seeing a broadening formation or one of these type of styles. And then you can basically just go off of the reference, which I have a reference in the description box, and look for application of those broadening formations and those trading setups intraday. So hope you find that helpful. At this point, if anybody has any questions or chart requests, please feel free to plug those into the in the chat window, and we'll get through as many as we can. Hopefully try to wrap up by 10 o'clock so everybody can get a good night's sleep. But if we go a little bit over, which we normally do, no problem. We'll just get through it. So hope that goes well. So give me 1 second. And Jay, hello again. Hello. Experience and thoughts. Good evening. Good to see you. Ayaz, how are you? Good to see you. Jesse, what's up? Yeah, let's take a look at Boeing. Great idea. So let's take a look at Boeing right here. So about how we traded this intraday. Was DMing with a Positive Trends newsletter subscriber and was kind of going over action-reaction lines with Boeing. And so the idea is, here's your first action line, or this is your main pivot line here from this low to the all-time high right here, right? And if you draw that back to here, this is kind of a major pivot area, and then bring it forward, it really does look like, and if you kind of bring it up like this, it looks a little more major, right? It looks like we are finally coming into maybe some sort of zone of support or resistance, right? So this kind of 333, 331 area corresponds with an open gap. It's very possible that once we fill that, we start working our way back up again. So definitely something to keep an eye on. One of the things too is that we talk about, that newsletter subscribers know about, is that if Boeing keeps getting this negative news that comes out, right, and it keeps holding up, and eventually starts, just ignoring it, then this big down move is probably over for at least the short term, right? So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. But yeah, so Boeing was great. We traded that today. Again, we did the video on that earlier, but it was a 15 orb trade because it was actually the only 15 orb in the public game plan, so everybody gets to see that. Just if you want to see my trades, right, it's part of the private Twitter, which comes for free for newsletter subscribers. But the idea here is I've already got the drawn in here, and so this is the 15 orb right here is that 15-minute opening range bar, and so we look for price action within that range. And so the best price action I saw was from this downward trend line. I got an inside 15-minute bar within this 15-minute orb range. Here's the orb high, here's the orb low. And when that broke to the downside, that was where we got puts, and then trailed those nicely for decent profits into the rest of the morning there. So that was a good trade there. So yeah, awesome. And now where it's going, like I said, you have that reaction line coming up. Let's just take a look at the daily and see, and then that open gap right here at this kind of this 331 level, 330 level. So should be pretty interesting. Now when we close below the lower Bollinger Band and RSI is in the oversold territory, we start to look for reversal. So let's see, as this kind of comes down here, if it fills this gap, if that is finally the reversal moment for Boeing. So something to keep an eye on there. Nice one, Jesse. Appreciate it, man. Osama, what's going on? SMDC4S. MCCO finished at minus 94, oversold. Oh, they had the McClellan oscillator. Oh, nice. So we're getting there. We're getting to that point. Awesome. Osama, yeah, let's take a look at Netflix, Slob, and NVIDIA. So Netflix. So Netflix is officially breaking down out of this channel, right? So we were kind of looking into the bullish side. I had an alert here if we broke back into the channel. I'll keep the alert there for now, but just never triggered, right? So we just never got up there. So at this point, we've just kind of been watching, and today, really, really bearish candle. If we get weak again into tomorrow, this thing could work its way down to this fib fan line, all the way to the 323 level before, it maybe gets a reversal. We've got an open gap here too at 297.80, so that is a possible support area. So something to keep an eye on there, Osama. And let's see, and then Slob. So big oil news today. Oil, of course, obviously everything else was kind of nasty, but let's see. So this was trying to hold on to its volumetric level here, and just basically failing every chance it gets. So let's see what it's got. So it has that all-time low right there. Let's do a fib fan line on this. Let's see if we can get an all-time high anywhere in there. No, that's fine. We'll just use this here to here. Okay. So you can see how this, just this alone just showed, even historically, how those levels were very important, those Fibonacci levels. And so here we actually pivoted right off of this one, and now we're below here. So to me, this looks like pretty bearish. It might come back up again here, test this 40 level. If it rejects that, it might come back down here to 35, and then we'll see what it does below there. So some very, very interesting one on that. Definitely an oil type play. And then NVIDIA. Awesome, guys. This is when we did the bump and run discussion last week, NVIDIA is a perfect example of that. So we started to see the beginnings of it here, and so this was your 30-degree line, right? From this ascending trend line, and then you got that bump, right, which is this trend line up, which is 60 degrees, and then it came off of it, nice little scallop kind of top right here, and this is the run, right? So that's your bump, and this is your run. And once you get through that trend line, right, you look for downside action. So that's why this has been on kind of the short list for a little bit on the game plan. So we'll see if this gets down here to this 140, 149, 150 level, and then we got earnings coming up this week. So IB's already high as it is. Let's see if maybe it can test here before earnings, and then maybe that's kind of your point. If not, it could go down, right? Definitely could go down. Here's volumetric level here at 62. I don't think it's going to get that low, but you never know with these stocks these days. So Bitcoin's been going up though, right? So Bitcoin futures are up right now 80 points. What was it? 3,000 recently, it's up to 8,000. So as long as Bitcoin's going up, right, people use NVIDIA to mine for Ethereum and things like that. So it could turn out with a turnaround in Bitcoin that might help their report, even though the quarter ended in March. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Yeah. Well, we'll see how that goes. Well, how does it? Well, the quarters. Yeah. Right. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so that being said, good charts, awesome charts. Oh yeah, let's take a look at BABA. So we've been looking at that too. So more earnings this week with BABA, and we've got holding volumetric level, bottom of the bull flag, and earnings in 2 days. And so here's your congestion zone right here. So we'll see if it can hold this, kind of this support zone right here, and then get a nice reversal, and maybe even up to earnings. We'll see, and then a breakout. So who knows? But it's definitely at some key levels right here. So definitely worth keeping an eye on that. So Pierre, what's going on? Let's do this. Good to see you, man. Good job today. Awesome. So yeah, good job getting the. On paper and for real, so very, very nice. La Machine Polonaise, what's up? How are you? Good to see you. Mohammed, what's going on? Good to see you. Shirley, how are you? Good to see you. Manoj, good to see you. Harvey, what's up? Session, hey Bubble, hey, how's it going? How do I catch up on streams? Aw, well, I'm glad you made it today, so good stuff. Let's take a look at STZ, Lulu, and Cost. Those are good ones. STZ. Perfect time for a water break. All right, let's see. Waiting for data. Okay, there we go. Yeah, wow. So it's pretty interesting stuff. We talked about this recently. After last earnings, we looked at its kind of 15 orb area, and then we saw this bull flag, and that bull flag broke to the upside. That was your measured move, right? So up, sideways, up, and then kind of coming back down, right? So right now, it's hard to say that if it's at any sort of support, but if anything, this would be your support level here, this 192, and then we'll see how it holds that. And then if it can hold that pretty well, then it might start working its way back up again. So so that starts Lulu. Challenging one to trade. It was nice after its opening range. I think it gave like a double inside day in there too. Yeah, so this nice double inside day, kind of pushed down below it, and then a nice reclaim to the upside. So it was a good move, right? A little bit of pullback, then it chopped around here at the top of the high of the gap up zone. Tagged it today and came down off of it. So at this point, right, we just have to see, how we look tomorrow. But if market is bearish, right, this could definitely start working on these lower levels and then even start filling the gap. So definitely caution on that little scallop top there too, right? So pretty interesting. Here's your we talked about, remember the hook pattern, right? Right, so there was your inside bar at the highs, and then that eventually kind of worked to the downside. Really choppy up and down though. So personally, it would be hard for me to trade through this, right? You have to be like super patient. Just be like, oh, just wait for this pattern to work, right? So, and that's fine. You can do that, but when you have options and all that stuff, it gets a little frustrating. So, put spreads are good up there. And let's take a look at cost. Okay, so cost. Wow. Really, it's holding up pretty well inside day today. So that is, something definitely to take note of. A break to the upside or a break to the downside could give some added momentum one way or the other. But for the most part, I was just trying to see if I could see a broadening formation in there. Kind of ish, not really. It would be a stretch, but yeah, it's holding these major levels up here. Where we had, I think, an inside day break or an inside week break probably to the upside. So these are, kind of prior support zone levels. So it's just kind of holding in this area right now. It seems pretty boring. I think maybe a scalp or something like that, but it's even it's tricky to trade on options too. But could eventually get a break. But it seems like it's just kind of just hanging out and waiting for earnings coming up. So it's one of those late earnings reporters. But this one is fun to trade on the 15 orb on earnings, and I know Pierre has done well with that one too. So that was a fun day. Melly. It's an Andrew favorite. Let's see. So how are we doing? So this was the pennant that we talked about, right? We ended up getting a nice break of that pennant the other day at this gap support, and then of course today kind of came back in with an inside day. So I'd look to see how it manages that inside day. It's kind of an inside. what is that? It would be like a green shooting star type thing, or inverted hammer. So I would just put alerts, kind of on this, so see if it can, how it behaves near those the inside day, the high and the low of those inside days. Just kind of see where it goes. But this here, that pennant break was really, really nice. That range of that bar was 22 points. So this obviously could be very, very interesting one to trade. Santora, what's going on? Good to see you. Yeah, sure. Match.com, MTCH. Ooh, yeah, more nice follow through today. Was that a double inside day? I believe it was. Look at that. Double inside day up. So you got to love it. So nice break there. Kind of opened inside the range, tested the low. Let's see, the low here was 28.29. Then didn't get below it. Perfect reversal point. Could have traded the whole range today, 4.59 to the upside. Wow. Big move on Match.com. So it's getting really close to the upper pitchfork, so it might get a little more follow through up to like 72, at which point I would look to see if it pivots and it might start, kind of come back down into that 65 area to retest those levels. Melly, we just took a look at JMIA. Jumia Technologies, ADR. Oh, okay, cool. So what is this, recent IPO? Right, finally an IPO that broke like to the upside. And then, so that was your first day, that break to the upside here, pull back upside down. And then now earnings are today. So we had earnings today, and I guess they did okay, because it kind of had a green day. And so this is actually pretty good. It ended up closing over its opening levels. And it got filled there, and so I would look for some potential follow through. And then I don't do their conference call until the 16th. It's a little bit weird, but possibly some potential follow through coming up. And let's see, Navarro. Let's take a look. Okay, so excuse me. Oh my goodness, sorry. This is the NR set. It looks like NR7, NR4 maybe at least. Very narrow range inside day right here, right? So after pretty rough earnings, I would look for this to break to the downside. So see how it handles that, right? That inside day. It's only a $1.69 range on the whole day, so it could give a move on a break one way or another. At least test the low ends or the high ends of the mother bar there within a day or two. So very, very possible. Netfry, what's going on? Good to see you, man. Intel, let's take a look. So Intel has just been very, very interesting, right? So it had this epic run, which is rare for Intel. And let's see. It's got kind of, oh my goodness, excuse me. Kind of a broadening formation going on here, right? If you look at it a little bit, kind of-ish. Little poetic justice on that one, right? So it may finally be reaching a level. We have an older pitchfork level that we drew in this zone. So if the market actually gets strength, this might be a good place to look for a reversal. It just had this huge run up and then an epic drop down. I mean, it had missed on earnings, and then it just was bad, and then the market got bad, and then here it is. It's like finding some support. So its next support zone here is at this 42.36. But if it can hold this pitchfork, it might start getting some move to the upside. So nice catch, Nefra. And Pierre, Take Two, and TME. Yeah, so these are both going to be on the 15 orb list tomorrow. Well, yeah, it'll put TME on there. Absolutely. Let's do that. TME has just been amazing on the Elliott wave count. So, but Take Two, let's see what we got. Looks like we've definitely charted this one before. Plus, it's fun to look at these gaming ones. So basically, let's see where it's at after hours. So it had a nice big spike up and then came back down. Imagine that. And then it'll probably, look at that range, 93 all the way up to 104, huge range on that post-market action. I mean, just gapped. It didn't even flow. It just gapped down and then like tagged that 93 and then back up, and then it's kind of here in the middle of the range. So good for Iron Condor holders, scary for a little bit, but nice place to sell premium, especially with the jacked up premium anyway, with the big down move. But again, very, very risky type trade. So we'll see. So let's take a look at what kind of levels we're looking at. So if we're gapping, we're about at like 98 right now anyway. So let's just see where we could be tomorrow. So let's say gap down a little bit. We do have a couple gaps down here. There's a gap that's not filled here at 97.99, so that could very easily get filled, and then possibly a reversal off of that. Or if we got below it, right, we might see another maybe a possible reversal there. So we'll check out the 15 orb on this one, for sure. And then TME, 10 cents. So this is one that I took my eyes off of. I was really analyzing it initially when it opened its IPO. Started doing some wave counts, but it really was looking nice. And so we had here like a wave 1, ABC wave 2, and then the wave 3 count was pretty big. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, perfect wave count to the upside here, right? And then now just looking for this kind of wave 4. So A, B, C, wave 4, activate here. And then, wave 4 is normally a, 32% retrace or whatever the case is from wave 3. So about 50%. So it's starting to almost look like a larger wave 2. So if anything, this could have been like a, opening, diagonal, and this could have been your wave 1, and this could actually be a wave 2. But either way, these wave counts are really nice on 10 cents. So at this point, let's see. So after hours, I think you pointed out earlier that it was down, and it is. So at this point, it's hit a low of 14.7, so 5.3, 15.3. Let's see. And so it's down, but it's like, okay. If anything, it's starting to look like wave 2. So if it holds those levels, and it looks like it beat the last earnings, so by a penny, it might be a good reversal one. So we'll definitely check the 15 orb on that one tomorrow for sure. And call Saul, what's going on? Hope you had a great day too. We'll check out Google too in a little bit. Manoj, how to decide to hold option overnight? Honestly, the best, it's just like trading through earnings, it's best to have a plan, right? And so if you're going to hold overnight, right, you want to make sure your setup warrants an overnight call, right, or an overnight put. And the only reason you would know that, right, is with if you knew like what probabilities you were getting to and your own personal success rate with whatever setup you're using, right? So if just say for instance, if you are, let me see if I can see a setup in here, let's say you have it's really hard to say, but say you have a wave, you're trading for this whole wave 3 to the upside, right? Well, chances are, right, this is a huge move right here, so taking this pullback probably wouldn't be one you'd want to hold overnight. But if it matched your levels like that you would expect, let's just say like a 0.618 retrace, here, which it did. This thing has just been Elliott wave, dream place, but 0.618 retracement here, right? So at this point you might want to go long, right? So you kind of came here, you might want to hold long. And so what do you do is, you have to define your zone, right? So if you really thought this was a wave 2 bottom, right, or a sub wave 2 bottom, right, then you would just put your stop like just below that level, right? And so that's where you have to know, so it depends how long you're swinging for, what your targets are, right? So this actually went really high up, so normally like maybe a 1.618 retracement or something like that. So you would go, at the start, here of say like wave 1, let's extend it back here. No, we were in this wave. So this here up, and then extend down here. Right, so this thing has just been Elliott wave awesomeness. Look at that. So 161.8 retracement is usually where wave 3 is. So that's really your target, right? So, if it came up here and you're still holding overnight, a little pullback here and there is, shouldn't phase you, right? And so the idea is this was 3 months out until it finally hit these levels. And so, how do you decide how long you're going to hold? What options you're going to hold? Well, that just depends on when you think it's going to hit your target, right? Or when you think you're going to hit your max, or at least at your minimum reward threshold, right? And you can use all sorts of stuff too. You could use your Fibonacci time, Fibonacci ratios. You could just go, just from here, right, and just kind of zoom out, right, and see like how far you think you could get, right? So you might go for the 100% retracement for wave. This thing has just been amazing with Elliott waves. But and Fibonacci's, right? So here's your 100% retracement for wave 3. So this was basically from January to March is where you're going to hit. So you might have wanted the Aprils and just kind of through that. So that's where you're looking to hold. So this is a very long time frame. I know it's a very Elliott waves a little bit more come along here, and your stop is down here. You just have to make sure that is affordable for you for potentially getting stopped out, right? So and if it is, then you're okay. But if it's not, and you're kind of loaded up in it and you're worried about it, then you definitely shouldn't be holding it overnight. So a lot of emotion and psychology, goes into whether or not you're going to do it. But the most important thing is having a setup that understand, and trust, and is consistent for you, and then making that decision and making sure your risk is right before taking it. So hopefully that kind of answers that question. A little long-winded on it, but yeah, experience and thoughts. What's going on? Yeah, so futures are green. We might get a bounce if it's impossible, right? Which is impossible. So yes, you just never know. But it is certainly fun. But yeah, big bounce here. Let's just take a look at the ES real quick, quickly, on the 5-minute chart. Activate. So that was your peak. Now here's your new trough. And so you just go up until you find one that doesn't intersect other levels. At this point, we just have to keep this until we can figure out if this is going to pivot again. Obviously, well, I mean, it might go straight up, but if it comes back down and retest these levels, then you'd move your your trend line here. But here's your break of this trend line. There's your bar confirmation. So that is your 28.16. So a 4-point move, but really, really tough because it pulled back to the same levels too. So same kind of, that was the bar right there, but same kind of movement, right? And then choppy action as we saw through the day today. So we'll see how this holds throughout the night. Should be pretty interesting. But yeah, so when is a good time to do butterfly spreads? I guess if you, I mean, it's basically a technique. Well, I mean, you have to have the ability to do that, right? But you basically go. It's basically you're trying to limit your downside and trying to maximize as much upside. Let's take a look at the butterfly right here on let's do it on Google. So we'll do two things with Google. So we got a special request on Google here. So let me just go. We'll do that, and then we'll do a butterfly spread on it. Okay. So if you think you want to go long on it, and then I'm going to show the short real quick. So with the short side of it, let's go to the daily. So let's say you wanted to swing this, right? You like the fact that it broke down out of the cloud, right? So nice moving to the downside of the cloud. You like the fact that it closed on the 200-day moving average, right? And so you're looking here for a target at the maybe this volumetric level around 1104, or even this fib fan level around 1100. So what you would do is, right? Because if you're swinging, right, it's better to go in the money on those. These are expensive, okay? So, but let's say you want to get there, in the next couple days, but you don't want theta to affect you. So you go out to the June expiration. So you go trade, right? And then that should go away. All right, and then you go to the June expiration, and then we think it's going to get to 1100. So we want, anyway, we're going to short it with puts, and we wanted the delta. We want a delta of 0.70-ish, which is right at the 1180. So we would look to buy these. You'll just buy a single one. Okay, and then there is your. So it's about $57, right? So it's a lot, right? So you have to find out what where your stop is. Where your stop would be right over the 200-day moving average, and basically if it took out today's highs. So that is the high of this bar, which is 1151, right? And you're basically shorting to the downside on that. And so what you do is you go to your options. You're in at 57, say for instance, right? Kind of this area. Your stop will be at today's low, just like your stop would be at today's low or high if you're shorting it, right? So there you go. So you're in at 57. Your stop is at 10. Right, and then your goal is to get to 1100, and so once it gets there, right, you're probably in the 60s or 70s, right? So for a swing trade, right, and so that is kind of what you look at when you're picking those. So now let's just take a look. If we wanted to look at we could do a butterfly either way, but if you're looking for a long, if you really think this is done, as soon as it gets over the 200-day moving average, this thing's going to launch, right? So, but you want to limit your downside a little bit. So let's take a look. Let's go trade. And let's look at, I mean, whatever, doesn't really matter. Let's look at these. Buy. Let's go butterfly. Okay. And so with the butterfly, what you're doing is, right, you're buying one, right? You're buying 3 levels, right? So you have your 2 calls, right? And so you have your 1135s and your 1145s, right? So it's basically just stack calls on that, and then you sell. Right, you get a credit back on the in betweens, right? So let's just take a look and see what this looks like in terms of analyzing it. So let's see. So let's analyze that trade and kind of see what it would look like if trading it. So let's go to the risk profile. Let me remove. What did I have up here? I had a straddle that I was analyzing previously. Okay, so here's your butterfly. Okay, so you're basically, oh, goodness gracious. Can I zoom in any better on this? So you're looking... Okay. Why is this not adding? Oh, because it's so cheap. I'm sorry. Let's find a better one. Delete. By. Okay. Yeah, Google's really tough because the spreads are really nasty. Hold on. 1 second. Yeah, Google's really nasty. Let's look at SPY. Let's just say it's all the same scenario. And SPY is actually looking pretty similar to it anyway on the chart. So let's go SPY. Get a little more. Oh, and we were way out of money on that one too. Or way out on the in distance. Well, let's say this week we wanted some upside. And to limit some downside. So you're basically looking at a broken, it's basically looking at a broken call spread. Okay. So that's 2 cents. I don't like it. I don't like these levels. Here. Let's go out here. Goodness gracious. I'm going to have to break this up a little bit. Give me 1 second. Okay. Let's go a little bit farther out and a little bit more in the money with these. Let's go with like 275, just as an example. Okay, so here we go. So now, we'll analyze the trade. Okay, so you're basically looking for a zone in these. Okay, here we go. That looks better. Okay, that was getting a little crazy when you do. Okay, so you got to spread it out a little bit, but you're trying to limit your downside, right? And then I don't know. I don't really trade butterflies, but the idea is you think that you can get a decent push, but instead of taking all the risk to the downside, you're still covering yourselves. You're still covering yourself with the credit that you take in on the midpoint line. So the idea is you really just want it to get over kind of the hump, and then if it can get over that hump, then you don't care how far it goes, right? You just want to get over the hump, right? And then if you could do that, then you're good, right? And then you limit your downside a little bit. So see if I took out the if I custom, let's make that 0. Can I remove that? There. So you basically just have two calls. So you have unlimited risk that way. But you cap your premium by selling those in betweeners, right? The idea is you just want to get a quick move, but you want to limit your downside so it doesn't go down, completely. So that's the idea. Personally, not a huge fan of them, but that's kind of the idea of what you want to look at. It is one way to get a complex option strategy. Personally, I think it's easier just to just trade the 0.7 deltas and then swing it, right? And then just have your stops there. But if you don't want to risk, the huger amount, then it's a way to limit your downside on that. So hopefully that helps. Sorry for the extended version of trying to grab those. So hopefully you find that helpful. So yeah, let's take a look at pins. Pins, the one that I wanted to trade the other day, but the spreads were really nasty on the option. So nice movement, right? Nice triangle pattern here. Then we had this kind of northern doji, right, and kind of outside bar, and then it finally broke to the downside here. So you had that tail fail to the downside today. It's kind of drifting here in no man's land, right? So it needs to find some support, which it might not do until it gets to this level here, around like 25. And then if it could hold 25, that was kind of like where it was originally planning to open, right? Then you might get some consolidation, then a break to the upside. We'll see. I mean, earnings are coming up pretty soon, so let's see how it does after that. And then we might even look at a 15 orb trade on that down the line. So good. Sagar, what's going on? Good to see you. Let's see. What else we got? Sorry. Yeah, the McClellan oscillator. Nice. So yeah, we might be getting at that point. So Robin, what's going on? Yeah, let's take a look at Disney and QQQ. Good to see you. So Disney. Okay, after the epic run to the upside, right? Reverse off of this fib fan line, which is pretty wild, and then kind of came back in. Now it's kind of trading classic Disney style. I remember Pierre and I tried trading this back in the day. Way before it had this huge gap. It just gets really, really annoying to trade intraday. But you can see this inside day, then outside day, then hammer day. It just gets like a little bit blah. But let's just take a look and see how it looks on the these levels here. Why would it do that? Because I didn't have the right thing on. Okay, there. All right, so here's your levels, right? So it actually is kind of funny. It looks like almost a bump and run. Pretty classic, a pretty huge bump and run. So here's your bump up to the fib fan line, and now it's kind of like moving back down, right? So at this point, it almost looks like even like a mini head and shoulders, right? A sideways head and shoulders if I zoom out here, right? You have this shoulder, head, shoulder. If it breaks through this level, right, which is also an ascending Broadening formation, which is bearish, right, and breaks through there, it might start to fill this gap. It might not fill it all the way, but it might test this fib fan area here around 121. So just kind of keep that in mind too. And then with the Qs, yes, the Qs is looking very interesting. We're taking a look here at some action reaction lines. So it's kind of doing some interesting stuff, right? So this is a major pivot here. Here's your action line. Here's your reaction line. It held that. It's kind of approaching that a little bit. So, but it's with futures up a little bit, it might come back up, right? So it's kind of just holding these levels. In the meantime, right, we have we'll use that as our trend level. So here's the high. So that is your level right there. So just make sure it stays above, right, today's lows, and then if it can do that, then it might work its way back up. CMG looks like a channel. Looks like at the channel low. Yeah. Let's take a look. So CMG. Whew, yeah. So even this right channel that we did the other day, just that straight channel, it does look like it's kind of horizontal channel. And we were doing a broadening formation on this as well, so that looks pretty good. And if anything, if this is not really broadening there, this could be a straight side here, which could be pretty interesting as well, right? So. Right, remember that could actually be bullish, right? So if this gets here, well, you can just use that as your line. So here's your fan, right? Your broadening form, and then if it gets over these highs, this 720 level, then it could get some movement to the upside. So I am liking the pullback here. If it pulled back a little bit more and kind of congestion, give a little bit of consolidation, then we might see like a nice run out of that. So that'd be pretty good. Good stuff. Let's see what else. Paul, what's going on? How about Zion? Yeah, let's take a look. I'll leave the wave counts to you, so I'm just going to look at just kind of general stuff here. So yeah, real nice. Big push to the upside. I love how it's at this volumetric channel right here. So break through that, which it tried to do today, could be good. But you have 1, 2, 3. Just be careful you don't have a triple top type thing going on here. But if not, and it stays and it consolidates and it continues to break, I think it could have some potential. So so that is looking pretty good. A little pharma type thing, which I don't particularly like to trade, but as long as it's holding those levels. So just keep that in mind. Good to see you, Paul. Shirley, what's going on? Shirley, you got good to see you. So Shirley always posts like great, great stocks with amazing entries and really consistent stuff. So let's check these out and see if we can make sure these levels are going to look good for you without any pullbacks on the way. So AEP, we like this. We've looked at this before. It is working its way up the channel. Still looks like it's coming up here. Just be careful at 87. If it doesn't break out there, it might, either come back into that congestion zone area or work its way back down. So just be careful with that. AGEN. So okay, so we did pitchfork on this one, worked its way up, worked its way back down. Now it's kind of consolidating here to the right. So it's in a major, congestion zone, right? So that is the key area, key zone to break out of, right? And if we could do that, then I think you can see your push, to the upside. BLL. Okay, cool. Yeah, so this is, I remember when we looked at this, several weeks ago, months ago even, but let's see. So this is working its way up as expected. So, pitchfork test up, starting to break out of it now. So maybe a little, consolidation, and then it continued to move up, or, it might just slowly work itself up. So I'm liking it. CBLK. Carbon black. Okay, yeah. I mean, it's back at those levels, so it's working. It looks like it's working well for you. So as long as it can get and stay above there, that should be pretty good. Socks. Your semis. So NetFry, this is your Intel, right? Ah. This is one of those 3X's, so it's hard to really keep major levels here. So here's a, kind of like, double top right here, and then, kind of the push to the downside. Tough to say, but I do like how it is, kind of doing a, upward type move here. So that does have potential, and the volume is increasing. So that does show some potential. And then TZA is another one too, right? Small cap beta. I don't trade these, but yeah, after that big spike down, kind of head, shoulder, it's trying. It's working its way up. So let's see if we can get some follow through on that. But with futures up, I would avoid. I would avoid at least tomorrow. So SMVC said things will be bad for minimum 3 years. Wow. I guess at least they got it out there, right? So we'll see. No problem, Nefry. Yeah, my pleasure. Richard, what's going on? Thanks, man. You too, man. You're hanging in there, doing good. Yeah, let's take a look at CCI. That's like your ultimate one here. Oh yeah, I mean, it's definitely doing its thing. Look at that. You got all shit there. I don't have to draw a trend line because the pitchfork's taking care of it for us. So yeah, nice pivot right here off of that lower pitchfork. Another break to the upside, could retest those 130 levels. So I like that. And CYRX. Why does it do that? Bull flag. Right, to see how it handles in there. A nice breakout here over that 15. What is that? 1575. Yeah, you can definitely see a push up there. So let's see how that works. Cryoport. Was that really? That's so funny. So good stuff. Session, what's going on? Can we check Monsanto, the Monday stock? Let's see. Oh, Monsanto. Are they getting sued by people now, like for some big lawsuit or something? Like huge volume today. What is this? A buyout? I haven't really been paying attention to the news on these people. Let's see. French appeals court rules against Bayer Monsanto. Oh, I guess this is part of the merger type stuff. Yeah, I would just hands off on this. I mean, it's just kind of, I think it's getting bought out, or the case is. So, yeah, $280 million award, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, to me, I don't even touch this thing. Not like this. Seems like some buyout news like type stuff. Not even worth touching, in my humble opinion. So, Richard, no problem. Cub, yeah, let's take a look. Cubic. I'll call it Cube next time. Cubic. That's a fascinating stock, isn't it? That's interesting price action. Let's see. Yeah, it held that fib fan like really well right there. So you guys can see how these fib fans, right? These fans are really broadening formations, right? So just kind of keep that in mind, when you're trading these, or if you use these. And then it held there, and then nice push today. So break above this high right here, the 61.53, which is kind of like its earnings high. Could get that move to the upside. So yeah, definitely. Paul, no problem, man. Yeah, how about that? I'm glad you tuned in tonight, Paul. Yeah, how about that TME, man? I mentioned that to you, I think on Twitter that one time. It just counts really well with the fibs and everything. It's really neat. So, it's not as maybe it's not as manipulated as some of the other ones, but yeah, just nice natural wave count. So, no problem, Call Saul. My pleasure. Harvey, awesome. Richard, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Appreciate it. Obviously, if you're joining in from YouTube, check us out on Twitter. We post tons of ideas and charts. If you like both, check us out. Check our newsletter out. It comes out every Sunday. Got tons of ideas, and it comes with a private Twitter too, and all sorts of other goodies. So, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Have a great night, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. Remember, risk first and stay safe so you can stay in the game. And I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great night.